Ukraine's intelligence forces have liberated from Russian occupation a territory that once formed islands in Kakhovka Reservoir on the Dnipro River. Following a successful operation that killed 2 Russian soldiers, special forces from Ukraine's military intelligence, known as HUR, raised the national flag over the area. According to HUR's statement on Tuesday, November 4, the mission took place in the gray zone of the former reservoir area. The operation was carried out by the Bratstvo unit, part of HUR's Timur special group, which advanced deep into Russian-held territory. In the Velyki Kuchuhury area, about 7 kilometers from the former shoreline, the team reportedly engaged and killed 2 Russian soldiers. As part of the mission, Ukrainian operatives raised the blue and yellow flag over the reclaimed territory and established control there, with HUR releasing footage of the event. The Kakhovka Reservoir, one of Europe's largest, was destroyed when Russian forces blew up its dam on June 6, 2023. Built in the 1950s, it once held 18 cubic kilometers of water, nearly the entire volume of the Dnipro River, and supplied power through the Kakhovka Hydroelectric Plant, as well as water for agriculture across Kherson, Zaporizhzhia, Dnipropetrovsk regions and Crimea Peninsula. Today, the reservoir bed is covered in grass and wild vegetation, while the Dnipro River, from south of Zaporizhzhia to its mouth at the Black Sea, has returned to its natural width. Russian forces continue to occupy the river's left bank. As the situation remains tense in the front line amid relentless Russian attacks, Ukraine has been stepping up its own strike operations in Russian-held territories as well as sending long-range drones deep into Russian territory targeting logistical and industrial infrastructure. Ukrainian troops have struck Russia's supply sites in eastern Luhansk region. The Special Operations Forces, SSO, reported on Monday that a fuel unloading facility near Dovzhansk industrial city in Luhansk was struck, while a supply depot near Rozkishna village in the region was destroyed. These attacks, according to the SSO, disrupted Russian logistics and led to fuel shortages within the center military grouping under the Russian army. The best battle is the one the enemy misses, the SSO remarked in its update. This latest strike followed an earlier operation in late September, when the Special Operations Forces, jointly with the Russian insurgent group Chernaya Iskra, eliminated Russia's advanced Bucha M3 air defense system, known by NATO as the SA-27 Golem, and hit a Niboyu radar installation in Russia's Rostov region. Following that mission on September 28, the SSO announced on Telegram that both the Bucha M3 system and the Niboyu radar had been reduced to scrap metal. The 2 destroyed systems, each valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, had posed significant threats to Ukrainian aircraft near the front lines and hampered long-range strikes inside Russia.
Ukrainian drones are striking Russian oil facilities and changing the geography of the conflict, Euronews reports. Ukrainian long-range drones built in underground workshops have launched a series of strikes against Russian oil refineries, fuel depots, and military logistics centers, crippling energy infrastructure and forcing Moscow to impose restrictions on fuel supplies. In secret locations in western Ukraine, under cover of darkness, columns of attack drones are forming, launching from makeshift runways and heading deep into Russian territory. According to those involved in the operation, some models are now capable of flying up to 1,000 kilometers, significantly expanding their strike radius compared to previous stages of the campaign. Drones are revolving, says a commander known by the call sign Fidel. Instead of flying 500 kilometers, they now fly 1,000. A successful operation requires 3 factors: drones, people, and planning. We want to achieve the best possible result. For us, this is a sacred mission. Many drones are manufactured domestically from parts supplied by a wide network of workshops. One of the most common types, the Lyuti, is simple in design and maintenance: a sausage-shaped body, a single propeller, and a triangular tail. This simplicity and low cost, approximately $55,000 per unit, allow the Lyuti to be mass-produced. According to Western analysts, attacks on energy infrastructure had a noticeable but not devastating effect. A review by the Carnegie Endowment think tank counted at least 16 major refineries hit by drones, representing approximately 38% of the country's nominal oil refining capacity. At the same time, most refineries restored operations within a few weeks, and production was balanced by surpluses and inventories. The International Energy Agency estimates that the repeated strikes have reduced Russia's refining capacity by about 500,000 barrels per day, leading to domestic fuel shortages, local rationing, and export restrictions on diesel and jet fuel, even as global oil production has remained stable. Kiev is reporting real supply losses. President Volodymyr Zelenski stated that, according to Ukrainian estimates, the Russians have lost up to 20% of their gasoline supplies as a result of drone strikes. Experts call this a logistical campaign. The attacks force Russia to disperse supplies, redeploy reserves, and strengthen air defenses far from the front. For most of the war, Russia operated under the assumption that its own territory was secure. That's no longer the case, notes Adriano Bossoni of the RAIN research firm. Ukraine is also demonstrating its ability to operate autonomously by launching its own missile drones without the need to import long-range weapons from Western partners, an important development given the blocking of certain types of weapons. However, every mission carries risks. According to the organizers, less than 30% of drones reach their target, so careful planning and extensive equipment resources are critical. We are paying for this with our own lives and the lives of our friends, says Fidel, emphasizing that the current campaign is part of the struggle for the future of future generations. War veteran and retired Ukrainian Armed Forces Major Oleksiy Getman believes that strikes against symbols of power in Russia, for example, the Kremlin or the Ostankino Television Center, could have a powerful emotional and political impact on Russian society. At the same time, he believes that from a military effectiveness standpoint, it is far more beneficial to target industrial and military infrastructure, factories, oil refineries, and other facilities that ensure the enemy's combat readiness.